Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'll show you two things. One, how to install Docker on Ubuntu, and two, how to use Docker to deploy a database app. So let's get to it. So I'm using Ubuntu, but actually I'm using Linux Mint 21.3, which corresponds to Ubuntu 22.04. That means it's using Gem. So to install Ubuntu, I go to docs.docker.com/engine/install/ubuntu. I go down to here, I'll set up the Docker's apt repository. So I just copy this part, right click, copy, open a terminal using Ctrl-Alt-T to open the terminal. Then I right click on it and then select paste and press enter. Then if you ask me for password, I'll enter the password. If you have to enter your own password if it asks you for it. Now I need to add the repository to the apt sources. So let me copy this. Okay, then let's open text editor and paste this because I need to make some changes. Okay, so because I'm not actually using Ubuntu, I'm using Linux Mint, which in theory is I'm using Linux Mint 21.3, which is basically using Ubuntu 22.04. So Ubuntu 22.04, if you do a Google search, Ubuntu 22.04 codename is actually using the codename Jammy Jellyfish. So if you're using Ubuntu, you don't have to, you can just copy and paste this directly, but because I'm using Linux Mint, this will not print out, this won't give you the correct value. So instead I need to directly type Jammy. So if you're using Ubuntu directly, you can just copy paste the whole thing directly without making change. If you're using Linux Mint, depending on the Linux Mint version you're using, you have to change this accordingly. So I'm using Linux Mint 21.3, which corresponds to Ubuntu 22.04, which corresponds to the code of Jammy. So I changed this to Jammy. So let me copy this, and I right click and paste, then press enter. Okay, to actually install it, I need to select this, copy, and then I right click and paste in the terminal and press enter. And press yes that I want it to install. Okay, so it's finished installed. So we can test that it's finished installed by running this sudo docker run hello world. Right click and paste. So we cannot find hello world container locally, so you need to download it, which is quite fast, then you run it. Okay, now that we have installed Docker and we test that it works, I'll show you how you can use Docker to deploy a database. So let's go to File Manager. So I've already created a folder called postgres_docker. So let's go into it. I also made a file, a new document, call it postgres-compose.yml. Let's open this. Okay, let's zoom in. Okay, so basically I'm using two images here in this YML file. So one is Postgres image, the other image is called adminer. So the Postgres image I want the container name to be called my_Postgres. So I want it to always restart. So if it's stopped, I want it to automatically restart. I set the environment, 3 environment variables, the user to be admin, password to be example, the Postgres database, the default database to be MyDB. Then the volume, I set name volume to be PG data. So PG data is the name of the volume. Then on the right shows the path inside the container itself. So var lib Postgres data. Okay, so adminer will be exposed to our network. So we will be able to access it using localhost :8080. Okay, so I'm going to use adminer to more easily access Postgres. and manage a Postgres. So let's go to the document. Go to the folder postgres_docker. Don't worry, I'll provide this code, the file itself. Okay, so let's right click on empty space and select open in terminal and type docker compose-f postgres, the name of the YML file, up. Press enter. Okay, sorry, my mistake. I need to type sudo. Okay, I need to add the sudo in front and type exec and okay, so it's downloading the image adminer and the image of Postgres. Just give it a while. Okay, so it's done. So like I said, because of this part, the ports, I can access it using 8080 localhost 8080 enter. Okay, so I want to access Postgres. The server is DB. Why? Because of this DB here. So the username I use is admin, and the password is example, and the default database is MyDB. And I click login. Yep. So I'm able to log in. So yeah, I can create a table here. Let's call this test. Let's call this test _ID. Set this as a auto incrementing primary key. Name, the type will be character varying, save. Okay, let's add a new item, give it my name, click save. And add another item, new item, auto, save. So I've got 2 items here. So let's log out. Okay, so that's how you use Docker to deploy a Postgres database. Okay, I'm now going to show you how you can back up the database, Postgres database, from inside the Docker container. So let's right click on the empty space here, select open in terminal again to open another terminal. Make sure that you don't close the original, don't close this yet, because you need the containers to be running at the moment. So you can type docker ps-a, sudo docker ps-a, then enter password if you're asked to. So docker space ps space -a will show you all the dockers that are running and all the containers that are running or have run. So these two, the adminer image and the Postgres image, these 2 containers that use the adminer image and the Postgres image are still up. Okay, and like I said, this one use 8080, expose 8080 so that I can type localhost 8080 so that I can access the adminer. Then I use the adminer to access the Postgres. Okay, so this is the hello world container that I used previously, and it's already stopped exited about 60 minutes ago. So okay, so to back it up, note that we know that the container name is called my_postgres. So yeah, written here is called my_postgres. Then username is admin, the database is MyDB. Okay, so to back up, I use docker exec. The name of the container is my_grass. I use the command of pg_dump for the user of admin and the database of MyDB. We'll back up to the file called backup.sql. So I copy this, right click, paste this, then press enter. Oh yeah, sorry, I keep forgetting, I need to type sudo. Okay, so if I type ls-la, I'll see I got a backup.sql there that contains the backup for the Postgres database. So to show you how it's really used, let's do sudo docker volume ls to see all the volumes that are available. So but before that, let me close this I press Ctrl C to close this, and type sudo docker compose -f, then the name of the postgres-yml file, I mean the docker compose file, which in this case is postgres-compose.yml. Type down it. This will remove all the containers. So if I type sudo ps-a, I'll see that there's no more containers here. Okay, to remove the hello world container, I can just type sudo docker container rm, means remove. Then the name of the container, I use container ID, right click and paste. Type sudo docker ps-a, it shows there's no longer any containers. Type sudo image list and images, sudo docker image space list. It shows all the images that are available. So I don't need the hello world image anymore. So I type sudo docker image remove hello world. Okay, if I type sudo docker image ls, I see that the hello-world image has been removed. Sudo docker volume ls, I see I still have this volume here. Okay, if I don't remove this volume, I will, okay, let me show you. Okay, if I don't remove this volume, then if I just type sudo docker compose -f, the name of the docker compose yml file, and type up, because I didn't remove the volume, so if the data is still there because I didn't remove the volume. So if I type admin example my db, then log in, I can see that the test folder is, the test database is still there, because I didn't remove the volume. But if I do remove the volume, okay, first let's do docker compose -f, name of the docker compose yml, in this case progress-compose.yml, down sudo docker ps-a, there's no more docker containers, sudo docker volume s. So let's remove this volume. So sudo docker volume rm space, remove this volume, paste. I type sudo docker volume ls now, there's no more volume. So if I now do sudo docker compose -f, that means then I specify the name of the docker compose file and type up. Okay, because the original volume was removed, so it's, if I type admin, I type example, I type my db, and then I press login, you'll show there's no table there, because basically it's, the volume has been destroyed, so all the table, the information that was contained in that volume was lost. Okay, so let's log out. Okay, but because I make a backup of it, just now I make a backup of it, so I can restore from backup, actually, as long as the, you can restore from backup as long as the my -postgres container is up. So, and I have that backup SQL. So docker execute -i my postgres, so this is the container name, then my PSQL using the username of admin is specified here, name admin, and the database is my db. So database is my db. So if I copy this, I click paste, I need to make sure I have the sudo in front, and press enter. So this basically restores the data from the backup.sql file. If I now log in using admin example my db, then log in, you can see that the table is there. The table is there. Go in and select data. Okay. Congratulations, you now know how to install Docker and make use of it to deploy an app, and also know how to manage Docker containers. images and volumes, and use the docker exec command to run commands inside running containers. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.